OMG. Look what I got. I can't believe I have this in my hand. I can't believe I have it in this dummy kitchen. I cannot wait to try this with you and share my thoughts. Does it live up to all the hype? Is it worth its unicorn status? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to Drams for Dummies. I am the biggest dummy of them all, Brett. And thanks for being back if you've been here before. And if you're joining us for the first time, it's a show by a big whiskey-loving dummy who doesn't know what he's talking about, hoping that the majority of us out there that like drinking our whiskeys and bourbons don't really have all the trainings and the knowledge and have our palates refined, but we know we love it, and we know we love talking to our friends and family about it and enjoying it. And so hopefully you find a kindred spirit. You know, you hear a voice it sounds like yours, saying just half-ass stuff and making it up as they go along. But thanks for joining me in my kitchen, in the dummy kitchen, as I call it. Sorry, I'm rubbing the cat hairs off my face because they're active. They're moving around and causing a distraction. But we're going to try to hope that they don't distract us on this little journey, because today, look at that. Look at that. Michters 10-year rye, single barrel, limited edition. You never see them on shelves. You got to know somebody or pay a lot of extra money that you don't really need to be spending on anything. This is one that people overpay for. This is one of the unicorns. This is one of the bottles that people will hold up and say it's bourbons of the year each year when they come out, or it's in this case rye. It's one of their favorites. The mash bill, the rumored mash bill, I don't have it exactly off the top of my head, but it's in the 55-ish percent corn, high 30s rye, with the bulk of that, the rest of that being the malted barley. So again, we're not talking about a 95% rye. We're not talking about a high rye. We're talking about, I would say kind of on the lower end of what can be constituted as a rye, So, but I'm so excited to get it because, whatever they're doing and whoever's doing their testing and tasting and whenever they put this product out, it just universally gets so much love and so much praise that I'm excited to finally have my hands on one and see if it holds up with for all the hype. So, having said all that, let's rock and let's roll. I'm going to roll a little bit around the glass, get it up on the sides, give it the old swirl and twirl, get some air into that, try to get it warmed up a little bit. If you can see that, I would put the color at a nice mid to dark amber. It's not anything mind-blowingly dark. It's not Coy Hill dark. But it's got a nice color to it. It's got some nice. It's given us a nice ring of a nice oily viscosity little ring there, which is nice. Keep twirling there, and I'm going to take a quick sip just to start this whole process, because the palate and the nose will kind of line themselves up, and that's how you're going to really get your full nose, is by having a little bit of in your mouth at some point. So. Not judging it, not going to say anything about that. Just took a tiny enough sip to kind of get the flavors in the palate and get the nose kind of aligned with that. So let's see what the nose is doing here, everybody. And I didn't say the proof. It's a 2.5 proof. So I'm a proof guy. I think the proof brings the complexity, it brings the depth, it brings the fun. So we're in the lower proof range. So, but at first glance, that nose you would not know that's just a 92.5 proof off of that nose. There's a lot going on. There is a lot of rye spice. There is that minty quality in there. It's a lot of that kind of minty oak. I wouldn't call it sweet. I wouldn't call it sugary. I wouldn't call it fluffy. I'd call it very earthy. And that's what I like. I like the deeper, richer noses, the earthier. We're talking about deep toffees and burnt caramels and coffees, those kind of things, and some nice rich oaks, not bitter oaks. This is all in that deep, rich world. There is a little bit of fruit and a little bit of sweet, but it's like charred fruit, right? It's deep, rich fruits and deep, rich sugars. It's not a light, fluffy, airy thing. Yeah. The proof, I do think, is cutting out some of the amazing, some of the depth, some of the rich out of it. So what it's doing at its proof point is really, really, really good. What would this be doing at 110 or 20 proof? That would be amazing to find out. Not going to find out. That's not what it is. But again, it's different every time. It's complex. It's interesting. It's really good. It's an 8 on the nose. It's a really good nose. So my scores would be 7 is good, and 6 is pretty good, and 5 is average, and then 9 is amazing, and then 10 is like can't imagine anything being better. So 10s are very rare. So 8, that's solid. For a bottle like this, for what you're paying, for the bourbon burps, for the rarity of it, you're hoping to see 8s, 9s, and 10s. So we started off with an 8. So let's see what the palate, if that holds up or gets even better, than our nose. So palate time. Yeah. Okay. Not going to the finish yet, but that was interesting. The palate at first go did, even at a low proof point, but the age is bringing that viscosity. It's filling the mouth. It's coating everything. It's bringing flavor everywhere, which is what you want. It's not simple and light and easy. It's got some complexity in there. Really good. Rich oaks, rich toffee caramels, a little bit of that deep mint, but not, again, a burny, sizzly mint. It's just kind of rich and carry. Everything about this so far is everything just works together. And even though you get a little different taste or a little different smell, or it kind of moves and ebbs and flows because of the complexity, it's always working. If nothing's not working in it so far. Let me take another drink because the palate may be upping the score of the nose. But let's see. Let's give it another shot. That's so good. That is so good. That's doing everything you want it to do. I mean, that's a straight sipper. Like, don't be putting that in a cocktail. That deserves to be in its own Glencairn. It deserves a lot of time in the glass. It deserves a lot of thinking and processing and mulling and rolling it in the mouth. It's so good. Now I'm just debating the number here. I'm gonna go 9 on the palate. And I don't go up there very, very often, but that would be an amazing palate. Again, if I was in my half days, which maybe I need to get back to my half days because I keep saying in all my videos, if I was doing halves, it would be this would be an 8.5, right? It's like it's too good. It's too good to say really good, but is it quite amazing? And maybe the proof is where I kind of go, it's not. I don't know if it's quite full amazing. But it feels like it's better than really good, and I'm just feeling generous and feeling happy, so I'm going to roll that to a 9. As I go to the finish, so we're going to say 9 on the palate, but as I go to the finish, I reserve the right to go, it's not holding up the rounding up that I did, and maybe I need to pull it back to the 8, but for the now, I'm going to say it's a 9. So let's see what the finish is doing here. I'm sticking on 8 for the nose. I like that. hmm Now my brain's everywhere. I'm like in the palate, but then I'm like, wait, the finish. You're thinking about the finish. The finish for me, and I'm gonna leave the palate where it is. It's really good. It's really complex. It's really different, and it's just high quality. So I'll let that keep its 9. The finish, at first glance, I feel like it doesn't bring anything new to the table. Not necessarily bad, but sometimes a really good finish will like have a different element, a different twist that works really well. Sometimes the twists don't work well. I feel like it's letting that complex palate run out, like it's continuing that palate, which is great. And then when we start to, and it runs for a while, so it's got a nice long finish. But then at the tail end of the finish, I feel like it gets very drying and a little bit harsh-ish in a way that I don't love that part of it. I feel like everything else is working pretty well. I would say at this moment, the finish is going to be the weakest part of, the weakest third of the experience over, nose and palate. But let me go one more time and see if that's true. Yeah. I feel like the palate is so big, especially at 90. Did I say 2? Am I right? Did I get confused? Yeah, 92.5. I thought I got myself off track there. But the palate's so big that the finish just kind of, it doesn't drop it. It doesn't just go nowhere. It sort of holds it up for a second, but it just sort of lets it do, the palate sort of feels like it's just doing a decrescendo. It's just sort of slow fading out. And the finish isn't kind of enhancing or doing anything different. It's just sort of letting that flavor sort of fade. And then it just sort of at the back end just feels dry and feels a little bit astringent, a little bit. And I don't know what that is. And again, it's not so much like a put off, but I don't love it. I don't love that finish. I think we have to go, I'm going to go 7 on the finish, which is a good finish, because I don't want to ding it more than that. I don't think that's fair. So our score wrap up time, let's recap what we have. The nose is an 8. It's a really good nose. It does something a little different every time. The complexity and the depth of it might be a little bit shortchanged by the 92.5 proof. So the proof point is not allowing maybe some of just the like the real explosion to happen that I want from an amazing nose, but it's real darn good. The palate is a 9. This palate is a stunner. It's full, it's rich, it's different every time. It's got all kinds of flavor for a 92.5 proof. This thing is insane. And then the finish allows that insane palate to do its thing. Doesn't really bring anything new to the table. Finish is a little bit quirky, dry, harsh, whatever, but not bad. It does not ruin anything. So we have a good finish, a 7 finish. The scores say this is an 8 bottle. That is a really good bottle. For the price and the rarity, you kind of want to have something that says, that's from start to finish, some spectacular, amazing thing. I would say if, it's an 8, but feel very confident that if you saw this or had the ability to get this at retail or close to retail, you need to get it and you need to experience it. You need to have it on your shelf because of that palate. That palate is something special. The parts around it aren't as special, but they're good or really good. Really good nose, good finish, but that amazing palate is worth experiencing. So the bottle as a whole, when we score it, is an 8. It's a really good bottle, but my recommendation is if you can get it at retail, get this all day long. But don't, for anything, but especially this, don't pay 2-3 times over retail. Nothing's worth that, and this one isn't either. But I'm so excited that I got to have it. I'm so excited I got to share it with you. Thank you guys for being here. Love you. Gonna wrap it up before the wife walks in the door. Bye.